Hi everybody, welcome back to Ep.4 We. My name's Connor Radset.
I'm Joe,
And this is Callum.
the main man.
Thanks for having me.
No worries, mate. It's sick to get you here.
Cheers.
Interested to get into a bit more of your story.
Sure.
So I reckon to start off... why are we laughing? It's a funny vibe in there. It's not... Yeah. So let's have a brief overview of your story. Like, let's take it all the way back.
Oh gosh, all the way back.
All the way back.
Okay.
We're not that long ago, really.
But all the
From
way
the
back.
womb.
Let's go from your childhood.
Yeah, sure. Well,
to now.
I'm 24 years old. Grew up in the Trowbridge area. Myself, my mum, my sisters, all in one house. Went to school locally in Bradford-on-Avon.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, growing up, I was into things like music and skateboarding, and I wasn't massively sporty, but in terms of sport, that would be it. Skateboarding and things like that, a little bit different. I was never into football or anything like that. And I guess probably a little bit nerdy in terms of tech. Like, I did like to play around with cameras and things like that, which I guess is where we're going to move on to a little bit. But I wasn't massively into it to the point where I would ever think I could make a career out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of like the skate park and stuff, was that just a hobby, or was it sort of like something you were trying to pursue?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was trying to pursue it professionally or anything like that. I mean, when you're young and you're growing up, I don't think you ever have massive ambitions in terms of, making it big or anything like that. Maybe you do, I didn't. But it was more of a hobby. It was an outlet. It was something I could, get better at, be creative and just enjoy, really.
Yeah. So I used to go to a skate park, and it was a bit different. I was on the BMX side of things.
Yeah.
So we were rivals. But I found quite a nice contrast to life with progression in the tricks and stuff like that. Same as gym. You can progress in the gym to business. It's a it's almost a mirror image of the same thing.
You start off small and then you gradually build it up.
Yeah. And the more you keep going, like, you think maybe it'll get easier, but actually it doesn't. It actually gets more intense, more difficult.
Yeah.
I learned quite a lot in those days, sort of, socializing with different people.
Yeah, massively. It is a good thing for people that do struggle socially.
Yeah.
Because you're forced to, talk to other people, and actually there is quite a good community in the skating world where people will help you out and sort of, egg you on, if you will, to like do bigger and better things.
Okay. So were you filming yourself back then? Were you filming like
did a little bit. I mean, God, like back in those days, it was like you could buy those like little fisheye lenses that went on the back of your phone. But that was even like just after phones got cameras as well.
Yeah.
So a little bit of that.
What tricks could you do?
Well, back then I was actually more of a scuba kid. So I was doing my tail whips and
flips.
all that sort of stuff.
JD bug.
What? Yeah, custom.
You have it bolted and stuff.
Yeah, all that. 180 fakies, all that. But eventually grew out of that and went on skateboarding. I'm no Tony Hawk, but I enjoy it, even if it's just for a cruise or whatever. But I've got a few tricks in me.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Are you still skating now?
Yeah, when I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what was your upbringing like? What was
my upbringing? I can't complain about it. I mean, mum, one of the best mums out there, did everything she could for me. And my two younger sisters. It was just the four of us. Didn't see loads of my dad. He was always abroad for work, traveling. So that was a different dynamic to some homes, I guess. And probably instilled some values in me for later on in life. Like eventually when I have a family, I want to do things a little bit different, be there. But that's part of life. A lot of people have it a lot worse than I did, and I can't ever say I had it hard because my mum never let us go without. She worked really hard.
Were you the eldest in the family?
Yeah. So
everything was on your shoulder.
A little bit. Got two younger sisters, so had to look after them and sort of set a good example best I could. But when you're that young, you still make mistakes and do things that you shouldn't. So
Did you learn some positive stuff from your dad as well?
Yeah, of course. Like work ethic massively.
Okay.
He's always been a hard worker, so that was kind of instilled in me.
Okay.
I think.
No.
So how did you actually get into like what you're doing now, and how did that come about?
Well, so when I was 18, I was working in retail,
Okay.
and I got offered an opportunity to go on to a training program and level up in the business, do a bit more management stuff. And my grandparents at the time had a business which supplied cruise ships and ferries with carpet and interior products. It had to be specially certified to be used at sea. Fire safety is massively important on boats, and that was what it was all based around. And they approached me and asked if, instead of going into retail management, whether I would be willing to come and learn their business from the bottom up.
Okay.
And that meant starting by making sample folders, being the T-boy, literally having all the worst jobs.
Yeah.
But so it wasn't handed to me on a plate, I guess. And after a year of being involved in their business, my granddad fell ill with a brain disease. So that wasn't ideal. And it meant I took on a lot more responsibility very quickly. And I ended
At what age?
19.
19.
And I started traveling the world, looking after our international accounts, doing all of the sales, marketing.
Can you give us an idea of sort of scale of the company? What?
Sure. Well, I mean, it was a family-run business, but we were dealing with clients around the world that basically it made us a multi-million-pound business. And for example, one order from a shipyard in Finland might be 500,000 square meters of carpet underlay to fill out a cruise ship.
Okay.
So it was a lot of pressure, and it was a lot of pressure to win the contracts and manage it all. But I did have support, but I was thrown in the deep end a lot sooner than probably I should have been.
Yeah.
And I did that for 4 years after it happened. So I learned a lot of business skills during that time. And I guess personally, like I developed a new work ethic and a new drive, I guess, in business. It got to a point where I felt like I needed to try something different. Although I was doing this for my grandparents, for my auntie, who was also involved in the business, I wanted to do something for me, and I didn't feel like I was pursuing my passion, and I was trying to do it to sort of keep my grandparents proud. But I knew I loved the marine industry. Like, working with them, it showed me that actually I did love the industry we were in. I just wanted to try something different within it. Okay. So it was at that point I left, and I went and did a training course on the Isle of Wight for becoming a super yacht crew member.
Yeah. And
that took 2 weeks. I went over there, stayed in accommodation, did fire training, firefighting, first aid, sea survival, basic like techniques for working on a boat, and like rope work and all this other stuff. And it was really nice to just see a different side to the industry. Rather than being someone who supplied the boats, I was going to be someone who worked on them. So
almost experiencing what you had been involved in, but from the opposite.
Yeah,
end.
Exactly.
Experiencing your products you supplied.
Yeah. And so I did that, and then after that was kind of when things got a lot more serious, because I had to take a one-way flight out to the south of France with like no work lined up, about £500 in my bank account, had to stay in a crew hostel, and basically like either get a job or run out of money and come home with my tail between my legs. And I kind of just had to make it work. So after 3 days of being out there, I got my first lot of day work, they call it, which is when you go on a boat, you're not employed, you're temporarily employed to help them out with things they need doing. So like if a charter boat was getting ready to go back out on a trip with guests, they would like be doing acid washes on the teak to make it all fresh. They'd be restocking supplies, food and drinks and everything else like that. And I managed to get a few days on board quite a well-known yacht, a big one. And that kind of set me up then to go on for a full-time employed role, which I got a couple of days after that. And that then meant that I had to get 3 trains from south of France to Italy, which took a whole day, and joined this boat. Didn't know anyone that was going to be on it. Didn't know the people at all. I was going based off of a promise over email. And I was then on that boat for the majority of a season, and worked as a deckhand on board, which involved like basically sorting out the super yacht toys like the jet skis and scrubbing teak, polishing the stainless steel, keeping the boat looking good. And improvements. We went into a shipyard at one point, which was for refurbishment. So that was, again, something new to experience, because in my previous role, I'd been supplying all of the things for when they went in for a refurb, and I'd been supplying the shipyards, and now I was in one working as part of the crew on board the boat. So it was really interesting to see both sides. But all whilst doing this, like, I still felt within me like I wasn't doing what I was meant to be doing, although I was in the right place, the right industry. So I've always been more creative than sort of, I guess, manual in terms of, labor work or things that require you to figure things out on a technical level. And I came home at the end of a season, and it was the day after that I decided, actually, you know what, I really have a passion for creative productions, photography and videography. How do I do this in an industry that I love? Because generally in the photography and videography world, it's massively competitive. It can be cutthroat. Every other person you meet probably thinks they know how to use a camera, they're a videographer of some kind. And especially with all the new technology out, or what's available to people. And to be honest with you, at that point I kind of was one of those people.
So I'm guessing at that point you didn't just come home and think, oh, I want to be a videographer for yachts.
No, I had to figure it out.
Was it niggling away at you the whole time?
It was a mixture of things. I mean, I was on the
boat.
Or
were you like kind of influenced in some way? You saw someone do it and you're like, oh, that looks like...
I mean, it's probably a little bit of all of that. I followed various like yachting pages on Instagram and stuff like that, because I was a crew member and it was interesting to see it all. And I thought, oh, that's really cool photography. I wonder who does that, or stuff like that. And then also I was thinking, how can I use like the contacts I've already got from my previous 5-6 years in the industry to build a media company. And then it was also me figuring out like how I could be different and like, pursue something in an area where I'm passionate. Because I still wanted to travel for work. I didn't want to be stuck in Trowbridge. I wanted to be able to go out to the south of France or Italy or wherever, even if it was for a couple of days at a time. And so I just started the journey. I started figuring out how it was going to work. And the model that I came up with at the very start was completely different to what it is now, although it was based off of the same original idea. I had a completely different brand name.
What was it called?
So it was something that I came up with actually when I was 16, and I did a little bit of like freelance graphic design and stuff like that. I did graphic design in school. I had the software and I played around with it, and I had a brand name called Graphic Vibes, and that was based around the graphic design. And because I already had the name, I already had the logo, I had no like money to fund my business when I came back from yachting. I was like, right, let's roll with that. But the problem I had with that was that it wasn't niche to the industry I was trying to go into, and anyone in yachting would have, well, firstly, one of the things I heard was, oh, so do you make signs because of graphics? And I was like, no, I don't. And also, nothing in the name suggests anything to do with photography, videography, yachts, marine industry. It was just completely wrong. But I learned from that, and that's when I moved on. I mean, a couple of months after starting my business, I'd done a couple of little local jobs, photo and video work, but I was having no luck in the marine industry. And it took for me to actually split my business apart into two, where I had a commercial brand for local jobs and then a marine-based brand for the yachts, for people to really sort of see the niche and see where we specialised in different areas. And following that, I then had to sort of re-establish myself, and I had to go out to these people and introduce myself as that new entity. So I then took a flight out to the south of France again, and I didn't have any appointments, I didn't have any meetings. Like, no one wanted to give me the time of day at the start. I was a 24-year-old from Wiltshire, countryside, but there's no ocean in sight, there's no boats. I didn't have any portfolio to like say, look at this amazing yacht photography I've done. And I just walked into their offices and I shook their hand and I said, hi, I'm Callum, I'm a yacht photographer. And, as far as they knew, I could have been. But without sort of putting that in their mind at the first instance when we met, you know, they had no clue. So
I'm guessing you got hired straight away then, yeah?
Nope. No,
Okay.
I didn't. I wish I had. It took 9 months, solid grafting, solid contacting people by email, phone, traveling out to the south of France, giving business cards out. I made these little sort of vinyl leaflets up that I had printed by a printer, and I mailed them out to the south of France, Monaco, all these places. And eventually, the thing that got me my first job was having gone into their office and introducing myself like I told you I did. And they just remembered me. And when the right opportunity came up, they had a 75-meter super yacht that needed a videographer for a month to film a charter guest's experience. That's when they called me up and said, "Can you do this?" And to be honest with you, at that point, I was kind of like torn with quitting. I remember the day like it was yesterday. I was sat on my sofa, my head in my hands, thinking, I'm shooting for the stars. Like, I've not even made a rocket to get there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like so out of my reach.
So what I'd like to get into before we go on to like, this yacht and stuff is, I like to touch on business owners' sort of journey right at the start.
Yeah, okay.
So what did your average day look like in those 9 months?
It was constant reaching out to new businesses, researching who was around, because my commercial brand is what funded my yacht brand. Okay. Without any yacht work to pay for that company to grow, I had to fund it another way. Okay. So I focused on who was around me, who needed help with media.
So you were contracting work essentially from your other brand, Edit.4.
Yeah.
To fund Orca.
Yeah.
And then Orca was kind of not a side project, but it was
in a way it was.
Yeah, it was your main focus.
It was my main focus, yeah. But I knew that without capital from somewhere else, it wouldn't start.
Yeah.
And the way that happened was by getting enough work with Edit.4 locally to save up the money to take the trip out to France, or you know, get a brand like made up professionally. I had some designers create the Orca Media logo, had a brand new website built. So yeah, it was about establishing it properly.
Okay. So mindset wise, in those 9 months, what were the battles you went through with, you know, talking yourself out of it, talking yourself into it? What, you know?
And also, what made you push so hard for?
Yeah, I guess what made me push so hard was feeling like, why can't I do this? Mm-hmm. Why shouldn't I be allowed to be the guy that goes out and films yachts? Yeah. Why not me? There are people out there doing it. Just because they live in the area, like, why does that mean that they're the only ones that can do it?
Yeah.
I don't like being told I can't do something.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing for me. Like, I guess it kind of gave me that drive. But some of the mental challenges I faced were like constant rejection, people that I guess would give you 5 minutes of their time to talk to you, and then you came away feeling a bit deflated because it's kind of like they heard you out, but you know they're not going to contact you.
So those two battles there are quite interesting because there could have been two outcomes from that.
Yeah.
So you're facing rejection, and then you're facing somebody who's kind of just playing cool to the face of it to not hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
Mentally, how did you respond to that? What was the self-talk inside your head?
I guess to avoid embarrassment as well, you kind of put a smile on your face, you nod and say, yeah, okay, thanks very much. And you just keep trying. I mean, like did you get aggressive though? Did you go like, fuck that guy, I'm gonna show him? Like, I mean, what was the, yeah, you know, I guess in a way, like, it made me just want to work with them more.
Okay.
Rather than getting aggressive and being like, you know, screw you guys, I'm going to show you. It was more, right, one day you're going to want to hire me, so let's see what we can do. But also it pushed me to go and reach out to other people in hope that they would then see me working with them and be like, oh, maybe we should use that guy. And to a certain degree that worked actually, to be where I am now.
How many no's did it take to get a yes?
Oh God, like I can't even count. It took 9 months worth of no's.
Okay, so you got like all the email no's, and then you got a fair few physical no's as well.
Yeah, and on the phone, email, in person, everything.
Okay.
Every avenue. Honestly, I wanted to quit for the whole 9 months. 50-50 in me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there was that, like, you know, the saying about your angel and your devil on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Like, in each year, one of them was saying, keep going, it's going to be worth it. You know, you're going to have this great career if you achieve it. And then you had the other one, which was saying, like, oh, are you good enough? Is it ever going to be achievable? Will you have the money to be able to fund this business and, like, create a brand that looks professional? Because I had no capital. Like, how do you create a business that's up there with multi-billion-dollar yacht companies that have all the money in the world to market and brand themselves, but you have nothing?
Yeah, so, it's kind of that imposter thing as well, because it's like they've got this much resource. It's like, why? Yeah, like you say, why would they choose you?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's kind of like if you immerse yourself in that, and they keep you, you know, they see that you're there and you're showing up, you force your way in.
You know? I mean, I learned as I went along that there were more options available to me than I'd originally thought. Because I thought, well, yachting industry, everything that's involved with it, it's all going to be in the Med. But then I found out through going to the Med on this one trip that there were networking events for yachting companies in the UK. And they're mainly in London, but that's a much less of a commute than going all the way to Monaco. So I applied to be a part of this group. It's called Young Professionals in Yachting. And you had to be, I think the criteria is like you're under 45 or 50. You know, you're a professional in the yachting industry. And I mean, someone might say, well, what is a professional in the yachting industry? You know, what makes you a professional?
Self-classification.
Well, yeah, literally. I mean, they could have said to me, well, where are your qualifications? And thank God they didn't, because I've never studied in media. I've never been to uni.
Yeah.
You know, I've got my GCSEs and college diploma, and that's about it. And none of it's relevant to what I do now. But I just went in there with my head held high and claimed I was this super yacht photographer.
Well, you've got to, right?
And yeah, you know, fake it till you make it, they say. And like, I mean, I've still not made it, but I'm much closer than I was back then.
Yeah.
So
that's quite close to something I wanted to touch on. Who were sort of some people that maybe influenced you or helped you to get to where you are? It doesn't necessarily have to mean like, here's a door that I'm going to open for you, but something that, you know.
I mean, there's so many people that I could say helped me, because, like, being realistic, I don't think you ever do. I mean, a lot of people can do it on their own, but there's always people that do little things that influence you along the way.
Yeah.
And like, you know, there were things as little as I had or have a friend, he lives up north now, but him and his dad started a media company. They specialise in architectural and property photography, and they helped me massively. Like, I would ask them questions about equipment. What's best to buy? Where can I get it for the best price? How would I do these certain things on the camera settings wise? Like, how would you set that up? And they would just help me out. They didn't ask for anything back.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I was so grateful for that, I then, when I was achieving projects, I would try and get them on board to come and film with me and help me.
Yeah. And
like, we would work together. And I learned so much from them about, you know, how cameras actually operate and work and all of that stuff. I wouldn't be where I am without them now. Obviously, yeah, some of it's self-taught and like YouTube videos and whatever else, but that was a big part of it. And then as well as that, I've got a friend called Ryan, and he has a company and podcast called Always Better Than Yesterday. And he's just such a great support system for so many people. And I did one of his goal setting workshops near the start of my journey. Like, I started my company in October 2021 when I came back from yachting, and it came to about January or February, a couple of months later, I knew what I wanted to do, but actually achieving my goals just seemed so far out of reach.
Yeah.
And so he sat me down and we did this goal setting workshop where he said, right, what's your main goal? And we put that in a big round circle. There's the main goal, like achieve customers in the marine industry. Cool. Now, what are like 6 small goals that you can do to achieve that are going to help to get you to that big goal? And we laid it all out one by one. One of those things was going to the place where these customers are. Like, I'm going to have to go to the south of France to go and meet these people to get the contracts.
Yeah.
So we did that, and honestly, like, since we did that, I've had such clarity, vision. He supported me massively in everything I do. Even when the doubt starts to creep in, he's there and reaffirms it with me and says, like, keep going, trust yourself, you're doing the right things. So having people like that in your life is so important.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all it takes. Even if it's like you're having a bad day and somebody just says something that sounds positive. It might not even be positive. They might not even be doing it. They might not have the clarity themselves. They're just saying it sort of in a way to just hope that it's all good. And that can
just
keep
clicks
you going.
in your head.
It can just make you think, it's not too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was the one that was basically fighting my battle with my imposter syndrome for me.
Okay.
And like sometimes it's just so hard to get past that on your own.
Yeah.
And having someone in your corner that just says, "Why not you, mate? Like, go for it."
It's something that like I struggle with as well because your goals are so big, and it's kind of like, why should somebody who's from a small town have the ability to go and achieve these things?
Yeah.
But also, it's kind of like,
why not?
Everybody's the same.
Yeah.
Like it makes no difference where you start or who you are.
No, I think it's about what you put into it, and like, you know, the person that sits there and expects it to come to them shouldn't realistically achieve the goals that they set out to do. But the people that start with nothing, put the hard work in, are persistent, are kind to others and help others, that's what it should be all about, and the people that should achieve what their goals are. And that's kind of the route I've tried to follow since starting my journey, and I've learned a lot of that from Ryan as well.
And I guess that's a process as well, because when trying to break down a huge goal, like your goal might be like 30 years in front of you, to try and trace your steps backwards to now is quite a difficult it's
massively.
a guess.
And it's about maintaining clarity throughout that whole process, because it's so easy to get sidetracked. Like, my main goal was to make Orca Media, the yacht brand, my full-time main source of income and project. But Editall constantly takes me on little diverts and roads, because I still need that to bring money in at the end of the day. Orca Media isn't bringing me projects every week, but that's okay, because I'm much more involved in it now than I was then. Just this year alone, in 2023, I've been abroad 4 or 5 times. And whereabouts? May. I've been to Amsterdam. I've been to Mallorca. I've been to the south of France a couple of times, and Monaco. And in 10 or so days, I'm going to Turkey.
Congrats on getting that contract.
Thank you.
I can tell you're super excited.
I am very excited. It's on par with my first ever yacht project. Like, that was my first yacht project. I was super psyched. Couldn't contain myself, and it was great. This is and that was kind of as I was just establishing my brand and starting to promote my brand, but it wasn't official. I was coming away from Graphic Vibes. This is my first yacht project as my brand, where we've been commissioned overseas. We've not gone and done filming for someone at a yacht show where like they're all in one place. This is like someone saying, we want you to come from the UK to Turkey, do this full marketing shoot for a yacht that we're putting out for charter. And it's arguably the biggest charter company, broker company in the world, which
it's a big deal.
Feels good.
Definitely.
Carl, can we talk about competition? How do you make yourself better than the other companies? Or
I mean, it's a tricky one, because like, I don't want to ever say we're better than you and, make it a competition. I do see competition in my line of work. And like, for example, there are people similar age to me that are doing exactly the same thing as what we are. There are 2 young lads in their mid-20s, one from Holland and one from near London, that are doing media for yachts. We've all come from different backgrounds. One of them's come from a sailing yacht background with his family who own a boat, and fell into it with one of the shipyards. There's myself. I obviously had my marine supply background with my family and diverted into it on my own gradually. And then there's this other guy who I think his family are part of the Sunseeker brand for employed work. And so he sort of fell into it that way. I'm focused on me. I'm focused on what we're doing. They're welcome to go and do whatever they want to do. I'm never going to try and tread on anyone's toes. I think it's good to have a bit of healthy competition where you spur each other on to be better, But at the end of the day, I want us to be seen as different and not as competition. So, for example, other yacht media companies are doing the standard, photo and video for charter yachts that are being hired out to these wealthy people that are going for holidays and they need to promote it, and also the content that promotes yachts that are for sale. But what we're doing, as well as that, which we're hoping to be more of our bread and butter side, is we've come up with the concept of cinematic movie productions for the guests on board, so that when they're having these once of a lifetime trips that are costing them millions, it's captured in the highest quality, most professional format. Like the concept of FOMO, fear of missing out. No one wants to be spending millions on a holiday and then have to capture every moment on their phone, get shaky content, miss the moment themselves, or not fully live in it. And that's what we're working off, and we're saying we'll be part of that moment, live in that moment.
So I'm worth 300 million, right?
Yeah.
I want to rent a yacht. I don't know, 75 meters. Say it's going to cost me like £1 million for, I don't know, 3 weeks.
A week.
Why? a week. All right.
Yeah.
It cost me £1 million for a week. That's cool. Why do I want to use your company? What about it is worth the money that you're charging?
All of my media team are ex-yacht crew. We know the ins and outs of yachts. We've been on them plenty of times. We know the etiquette. We know the rules of being on board. We know the safety. We carry up-to-date safety certificates. Myself, I've come from an extended marine background, knowing other sides of it. And we put all of that together along with our creative side, where we're creating these productions. And we hope that it influences your experience in a different way to what it would if a standard media team from inland came on board and filmed for you. Because we think ahead, we think about what we're looking at, we think about, at what time they're going to be doing certain things. Actually, where do we need to be stood to get that perfect shot of them on the jet ski? And we know all of that. And we put all of that into action.
So what sort of parts of my holiday are you going to capture?
Well, we'll follow you wherever you go and whatever you do. If it's going out on the jet skis, we'll jump out on the tender or stand on the bow of the boat and we'll capture you having the time of your life with a long lens and get the drone out. If you're going ashore on the tender yourself for a beautiful meal, then we'll go along with you. We'll obviously hide in the background to maintain your privacy, but we'll capture that. Sunset cruise on the speedboat with a glass of champagne always looks good on camera, especially if you're not holding your phone in your hand and you're truly living in the moment. So all these things, they're things that, people love to relive. And at the end of the trip, whether that's 3 days, 7 days, 10 days, 6 weeks, we're with you the whole time, editing as we go along. And on the last night of your charter, we will present it on a big screen in the movie room of the yacht for you to reminisce on the whole trip. And it just gives that extra personal feeling, and, makes it all special, really.
It's a wicked experience, man. For somebody who's like so wealthy that, however much money, it doesn't matter, they can chuck what they want at it. But those memories are just sort of, they're in, you can't really put a price on it, can you?
No.
So, I mean, I think you've tapped into a really decent market. Especially with people, I can't remember who says it, but I think it might be Alex Hormozy. Have you heard him? He's like, solve rich people problems, they pay better. and it's
that's true,
that is exactly what you're doing.
I suppose there is that element of it, but by no means am I like making lots of money at the minute. I'm at that stage, it's still a business where it's taken a lot of investment, a lot of time. We haven't done 100 of these projects. We've done a handful.
Bro, you're doing it though. You're in the trenches, man.
That's the thing. That is the thing. We are doing it, and before it was a dream out of sight. How do I get there? What's it going to take to get there? How long is it going to be until I get there? And now I can say, well, actually, I've done it. Yeah. It's just making it happen again.
This is why I love this podcast, because like we're talking to you now, but in 20 years' time,
we'll look back.
Do you know what I mean? Your company's going to be huge.
How many employees have you got right now?
Well, technically it's 3.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
Imagine saying you got employees.
Well, yeah, it's. I mean, some are on a freelance basis, which I'm never gonna lie and make things up. I'm not like some young guy with loads of staff that all are on payroll. But the fact that I started off with, you know, no investment, no profit, and I was working on my own basic equipment, and that was literally a year and a quarter ago. And now, you know, I've got a team of 4, high-end equipment in a new studio, and I am traveling abroad lots. I'm happy with the progress.
Mate, it's really good. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, with your employees or your contractors or however you want to call it, what's their main roles and how does it alleviate?
Yeah,
stress?
sure. So, obviously, I've got myself. I sort of take lead with the actual shoots from a director's point of view, as well as, you know, capturing content. I do, you know, the general management of the company, invoicing and everything else like that, achieving projects. But I do also have Holly. She's an ex-deckhand of 5 or 6 years, so she knows the industry well, and she does my marketing and business development. So she'll manage our social media, she'll promote us out through newsletters, she'll email new companies, she'll call them up. She comes with me to yachting, like trade shows and yacht shows, and she'll network as part of the business and help basically achieve new customers, which is really important because I can't be everywhere at once. And at yacht shows we're also trying to achieve projects because customers will often have their customers there, which are the yachts, and they want to get content. So as well, like at yacht shows, as well as going around networking, we're also jumping on these boats trying to film and make a bit of money. So she then takes that lead, and then we've got Joe, and Joe is our creative assistant. He is sort of an extension of me for filming, editing, all things creative, and he's really good at what he does. I'm really grateful to have him as part of the team. He came on through Holly. They're actually related, brother and sister. So that kind of comes through with some of our values, because I am a big believer in like family values, and having them as a part of the team together, it just it feels right, it feels good, and it works well. And we all get on really well as well, so that's nice. And then recently we've brought on another young guy called Jake, and he again is on the filming and editing side, but he's sort of training up with us, having just left college, doing media studies. So
okay.
And do you cover both businesses with that team?
I do. Holly and Joe are more focused on Orca Media because that is obviously the end goal, and I position them there so that we don't lose track of our aim and goals. And I dip between the two. And then Jake is more focused on the edit all side. He helps us with luxury estates, estate agents, local business shoots, all of that. Okay,
super interesting. What sort of challenges have you had with trying to start growing your business?
Oh God, how much time have you got?
I'm free all day.
So I would say there's so many challenges, and not to put anyone off starting a business, it's one of the most rewarding things you can ever do in your life. It does give you more freedom. It gives you the opportunity to go to the gym at 11 a.m. if you want, or, you know, take an early day, or spend time with your girlfriend and your dog, or whatever it might be. But some of the challenges I faced have been sort of anxiety over paying bills. Where's the next job going to come from? Am I good enough to be doing what I'm doing? How sustainable is this? All of those kind of things, and they can be crippling to some people depending on how resilient you are, but it also can put you in this like overdrive mode of, well, I either make it work or I don't, so let's go.
Yeah I kind of feel like it's it's not necessarily a symptom of like business, it's actually like a factor that has to happen. So it's how can I sort of put it? It's sort of the anxiety. It's being comfortable with unknowns. It's like sometimes it's unknown unknowns that spring up out of nowhere that can kill your mental clarity. But I suffer with anxiety, and most of mine comes from not understanding how to get to the next level. And it's quite a difficult, especially with property. Property's slow because I'm not invoicing somebody, but you know, with 2 different businesses, I can imagine that's on a
Yeah, well, I mean, as you can imagine, like, I always expect at this stage and previously all media to be quiet, and it's like
Because it's seasonal, yeah.
yeah, but as well as being seasonal, it's new and it's in a niche industry where I have no name.
Okay.
But there's always in the back of my mind that feeling of, well, don't rely on that. Editor's there to keep things smooth, keep both things funded, pay my bills for my house and my life, because all of that's included. And if both of them go quiet, that's when you're like, oh shit, okay, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like there at one point early on in the business, and this was around the time I did the goal setting with Ryan. I was actually looking for jobs.
Just side jobs, or
yeah, I didn't want to give up. I didn't want to stop, but it got to the point where I was scared of losing my house.
Yeah.
And like I thought, have I jumped into all of this too quickly?
Yeah.
Like literally 4 weeks after starting my company with no capital, myself and my girlfriend moved out of her parents' house.
Oh, no.
And it was like all a lot at once. So it was like, okay, I'll go get a part-time job. I'll work this part-time job to pay the bills, and then the other half of my week, I'll focus on growing the business. But the big, like, scary factor of that for me was, well, will that take me away from the business? Will I lose sight of everything? Will I put the time into it? When I come home from this part-time job, will I just sit on the sofa and want to chill out? Like, is it going to drain me and take away my attention and my drive? And I was super scared of that. And I said to Ryan, like, all of these things, and he just said to me, well, how do you know if you don't try? And what he meant by that was, how do you know your business will succeed if you don't try? So he's basically said to me, like, don't go for this part-time job if you want your business to succeed, because it won't if you don't try. And from that moment I thought, you know what, he's right. I had the job offer, I could have taken it and gone to work. It was actually that day I was due to go for my first shift. And
what was it?
It was working at a law firm.
Oh, really?
But I didn't have any qualifications in it. I think I was going to be like kind of like a receptionist.
Okay.
And I think they called it like customer relations. Like, so I'd take them for a cup of tea. I just put everything into it, and I remember a week later, I got a big contract for Edit All with. It was a company that does company away days and like team building, and we went to what's the place in South Wales with the golf course, Celtic Manor.
Okay.
And we went there for an away day, and I think I earned like something like 3K for a day.
Wow.
And that was just you at the time.
That was just me, but I also subcontracted another photographer for that job because it was too big for me to do on my own. I think I paid them something along the lines of 750, 800 for the day. Wow. Because that is what a photographer would charge for a day. And yeah, that's where it all sort of then took off from. And that gave me the opportunity then. I had some money in the bank from a nice project. I also had more portfolio. And it was just all aligning to then go on to the next stage. And it's just how you keep on building on from that. So
can we talk about how you overcome anxiety and you meditate? What do you do?
5:30 every morning. I'm at the gym, a minimum hour workout, get the blood pumping. I do occasional breath work and meditation classes, cold water therapy, basically anything that puts me outside of my comfort zone and gets my blood pumping, because at the end of it, it does make you feel better. And I'm an advocate of that.
What symptoms did you have with your anxiety?
I would get short of breath. I would get this sort of like stomach turning feeling. I would panic, have panic attacks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wake up in the middle of the night, like just like bolt upright, like having a panic attack.
So honestly, I can relate so much to that, because at this time where I was considering other work and everything else like that, I was waking up in the middle of the night with like breathless, and
like having a heart attack.
I would have to punch myself in the chest to get air back in my lungs and like to start breathing again. It was sleep apnea. I'd stop breathing in my sleep. And it was from pure stress and anxiety. And at that time, I wasn't eating well. I wasn't exercising. I had been looking for a new gym, but with moving house, hadn't found one yet. And yeah, as soon as I found a gym. As soon as I started working out, as soon as I started focusing on like, getting my goals laid out in a more achievable manner and handling all of it to reduce my stress, I felt better.
See that like going back to the anxiety things, it's a bit of a selfish thing for me, but like I feel like the anxiety thing in business is kind of it's spoken about, but not in the correct places.
Yeah.
You find that like the people who are, how can I put it? It's like all of the gurus and the coaches that talk about anxiety, and the people who are out there actually like trying to do it and stuff.
Yeah.
They kind of brush it off, because that's what I was like. I've had it for years, because it's kind of, and the stress doesn't have to be direct.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like a workload is happening. It can be like a mental thing that you're framing something wrong in your head.
Yeah.
So like, I could be sort of not doing a lot, but I'm so sort of stressed because I'm like, if I've got this anxiety, am I made for this? Like, am I made to be a business person, or am I made to do this business? But I do think that there's a lot of people out there who are silent and they are suffering, and not suffering, but they are experiencing these things,
I think, I see what you're saying. But there's also another side to it where you can flip the mindset, and this is all about positive thinking, changing your perspective on everything to help deal with that pressure and the anxiety, which is, well, why are you feeling anxious? And the simple answer is because you care.
Yeah.
And caring is not a bad thing.
No.
Because it means that you want to succeed at whatever that thing is.
One thing that helped me was like, I had a question where it's like, do I still want to do this? Is this what I want to do? And then it was kind of like, how would I feel if I didn't do this?
Yeah.
And I'd be way worse if I wasn't doing it. I'd be in a much worse state if I wasn't just pushing or trying for something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the way some people are made up.
Yeah.
By no means am I successful, but it's something that I have to be going towards something.
Yeah.
In your head. But that might be healthy, it might not be. It's kind of the risk that we take, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. But again, like Ryan said, how do you know if you don't try?
Exactly.
How do you know if you don't try?
Yeah. Can we talk about important skills that you need to be like to do what you're doing?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Well, none of my skills have been like taught really. I guess. I would say an important skill is just like, if it is a skill, resilience, and the willingness to push yourself past what you're comfortable with. So, for example, I would like get anxious. I'd get worried. I would, have sleepless nights over being worried about a project I'd won, but then not being able to actually achieve what they needed.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, well, I haven't gone to uni and studied this. Like, I haven't got an official certificate that says you're a videographer and you're a good one. And so I had to put the time and effort into sitting there for hours watching YouTube videos, playing around with my camera and learning the settings, like making sure I knew actually how to use this thing. So yeah, resilience and I guess willingness to learn. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Let's talk about another one, which is kind of, I know you've mentioned it when we spoke because we spent a few days together now, which has been cool. But people skills, right? And in the business that you're in, those people skills are heightened because the majority of people who are involved in this industry don't take any bullshit.
No,
they're people who are successful.
They're very
They've
direct.
had to get to a point by doing things properly. Yeah. So let's talk about some stuff you've learned with that.
Yeah, sure. I guess in previous scenarios, you do feel like you have to watch what you're saying and who you're saying it to. In this industry, there are a lot of important people that are successful, and like you say, they don't take any bullshit. They're very direct. The attitude I go into it with is be yourself, be polite, and I guess just try your best with whatever the scenario is. If you're quiet, shy, in the corner, or rude, or inconsiderate in any way, then you're not going to go very far. People like people that are positive and kind and open and honest and easy to talk to. if you asked me a question and I gave you a one-worded response, you would just sort of be like, oh, okay, and then you'd sort of be put off talking to me anymore, and that's not what you want. So I always walk into a conversation with a completely open mind as to where it's going to go, as long as it's not going against my morals or what I believe to be right or wrong, because I'm never going to be fake. I'm never going to let someone say or do something that I don't agree with to the point it changes how I act. But yeah, you've got to be easy to communicate with.
Okay. Any scenarios where it was kind of like, I'm here to film, this experience or whatever you're doing, but there's certain other things that were involved that you were kind of like, that's not really in my job description, but I've got to do it anyway to show willing? Is there any sort of
cleaning the toilet or
something?
something?
not sort of like that, but stuff that wouldn't you wouldn't necessarily class as what you're being paid for?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a specific example in terms of like my land-based commercial work, and it might sound a little bit like I'm being a tight ass here with what I'm about to give you as an example, but I was on board a yacht filming for a family that wanted a movie of their experience, and I was being paid to be there as a videographer, make this film, and that was it. They did try and get me on as a deckhand a couple of times, which was fine. Like, I was open to it. I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to be part of the crew. I wanted to have a good relationship with everyone. You don't want to be the guy that people see as like not being helpful or doing their bit. So I did a couple of times, but luckily there wasn't too much to do there. But the main thing was actually, when I was meant to be just making this video, the guests actually wanted photo shoots every single day. Now that sounds like, oh well, you're there as a media guy, like photo and video, like it's all part of what you're being paid for, but it's not. And it wasn't. They wanted a movie, that's what I'm being paid for, and that was full-time work. I mean, I was doing minimum 12 hours a day for filming and editing, but then with these added photo shoots, my days were going up to like 18 hours.
Okay.
And so imagine doing 18 hours for 30 days and the amount of sleep you get in between. It's a lot.
Grueling,
yeah, it's grueling, and also that's a lot of hours you're not being paid for.
100%.
Yeah.
So how did you handle it?
Well, there was part of me, the selfish part of me, and the, I guess, childish, immature part of me that wanted to say no.
Yeah.
But then I had to think, well, I'm here doing what I want to be doing, and I'm here doing what I've set out to be doing. So whether I'm getting paid for it or not, would I do this if someone came up to me and said, come on, you got to do a photo and video shoot, but you got to do it for free? Would I have taken that chance anyway? Yeah, I would have. And it was my first one, and I was being paid. So I thought, well, I'm here, I may as well do it. And not only that, but I'm here to impress, and I'm here to make a good name for myself.
Yeah.
And if they know that, and I show that I'm willing, then maybe something else will come from it in the future.
And also, you've spotted a new service you could provide. You
Exactly.
have a little tick box, photo shoot every day. Chick.
Yeah. And that is exactly what we've done. On our Charter Experience movie service, it is a standard service of the movie.
Yeah.
But if they want additional extras like photo shoots or anything else like that, that is something they can add on.
So it's wicked as well, because
I've learned from it.
Yeah, because you might have thought in your head that what you were selling was clear, but to somebody who is purchasing your service, they may have a totally different. If it's not written, specifically, they're kind of they'll blur the lines because they're trying to get the most of their money. Even wealthy people still do it. So I guess if you put it in, and it's kind of, you're almost forcing them to tick the box to, and you can charge.
Yeah.
You can pay for an extra person to do that.
Yeah.
It's sick. It's so cool.
Well, and back then, being my first one, not having the team at the time, it was a big job. I had to do it all on my own. So that's where all the extra hours came in.
Yeah.
But now that I do have my team, they would be hiring the team.
Yeah.
I would be able to take Joe. I would be able to possibly take Holly. And that just takes a lot of pressure off of one person. You can distribute the workload, and maybe you can give them that bit extra and give them that extra added value because it's less on one person.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, at the start of most businesses, there's always like those 16, 17, 18 hour days where it's kind of like...
But then if you're not willing to put those hours in,
Yeah.
Is it going to succeed?
More than likely not.
Well, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
If
it's more than likely not going to succeed anyway, like with statistics. So it's kind of like you've got to do the best you can, haven't you, to make it work.
Also, I was just thinking, like, there is no guarantee that this will happen again.
Yeah.
And I'm here right now on a super yacht,
like make the most
going
of
around the
it.
Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Get the experience.
Nobody experiences that. Like
No.
there's a handful of people on the planet that experience that. You know, it's
Don't get me wrong, I wasn't in like the stateroom,
No,
getting in the jacuzzi every night. Like
I
had
it.
it felt like
I was sneaking in like,
I had
a little Asian boy in the hot tub. Who's this guy?
Who's this guy?
Don't get me wrong, I had it better than the crew. Like they were on board every day doing the standard jobs, and being a crew member is hard. It'd be scrubbing the teak or cleaning up or whatever it might be. I was getting off the boat every day, going to these luxury destinations with the guests. Literally, and like, you know, I'd get in these I think they're A or S class Mercedes, which literally are like limos. You know, like I was treated well, but at the end of the day I would go back, and I had a cabin in the crew area, and I was part of the crew. They
you got a job
to
do,
me.
you know?
Yeah, I helped clean up in the crew mess where we ate, stuff like that, because you've got to keep these good relationships. But yeah, by no means was I being waited on.
So if you could go back, starting from zero, what would you change?
That's a really good question. Not one I've thought about. If I could go back and change anything, I guess it would probably be not worrying as much as I did about paying the bills and trying to source work with my commercial brand to do that. And I would focus more on my end goal earlier and put more time into it, because like the ratio was probably like 70% commercial, 30% yachts in terms of my efforts to achieve work. And so the odds then were slimmed, because it was like, you know, you're only putting 30% effort in, so your odds of getting this work are reduced. It was only when I made the switch and I was like, right, actually it's 70% yachts now and 30% commercial to pay the bills, that I started to see traction. So I would make that switch earlier, and I would put all my effort, or 70% of my effort, into my actual goal.
Fair enough.
So switching from that now, what's the most expensive yacht you've been
on? I would say it would be, I can't name the yacht, but it is worth approximately 110 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the length of it? Can you go into that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is about 110 feet from memory. I can look it up and tell you exactly, actually, because it's a beauty. But it was a sailing yacht. And it, without giving anything away, has the same name as a pirate ship from a famous pirate film. And yeah, it has something like 22 crew, has 2 kitchens, about three decks.
Is this a boat that is chartered out, or is this a billionaire's, you know?
So it was Russian owned. And then it then became a free vessel where it had no owner. And I know that they were recently deciding whether to become a charter boat or sell to a new owner.
How does that work when it's like a no owner boat?
So it's being looked after by a management company. As it stands at the minute, it's kind of like in lieu, I believe. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's 106 meters.
Man, that's
in
a mean looking boat.
Yeah. that was the one which I was on recently, which I did a photo shoot for a yacht wine brand. So it wasn't actually for the boat, but they allowed us access to do a product shoot on there, which was cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Whereabouts was that?
That was in the Balearic Islands.
Oh, really? And how long were you out for?
I was out there for the best part of a week, because I was at a yacht show. And then we tied it in with the yacht show. We actually managed to get the shoot whilst we were at the yacht show. We didn't know we were doing it before we went, so made it worth the trip for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
So with, you know, in regards to what you're selling, your service, how do you, you know, I guess it's quite a simple one, but how do you push the value across of your service to the yacht, not the yacht owners, but the yacht management company?
So it's a tricky one, because there are yacht media companies or photographers or videographers that have been in the industry for 15, 20, 25 years. And they're gonna win projects over us any day of the week as it stands currently if we go up against them in a quoting process, not based on price but based on experience. And in this kind of industry, money does matter, but portfolio experience and reliability will always win. And so how we differentiate ourselves currently is we go and try and work with companies that have the same values as us, family values, also, you know, based on our experience and what we feel like we can bring from our previous marine industry backgrounds. Because these photographers and videographers were just general photographers and videographers until they started photographing yachts. So that's how we're approaching it at the minute. Yes, we are cheaper. And that's also another way we try and do that. Not to be cutthroat or undercut anyone, but purely because we can't go and charge 20 grand for a shoot like some photographers can, because we don't have the portfolio for it. If we did, then we would be charging it.
Yeah.
But I know that we wouldn't get paid it right now. But I'm just happy at the fact that we are actually getting interest. We are talking with these big companies about doing shoots. And I think what they do is they filter the workload that they have between the right people. So if they have a super famous yacht that requires, you know, absolutely zero room for error, top of the range, and they have unlimited budget to spend, they'll go with the guys that have 25 years experience. But one day I'll have 25 years experience.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just the name, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just like...
But I'm here now and I'm a year and a half in. Yeah. So I get the inquiries that filter through where they say, oh, well, that's not big enough for those guys, but actually it's huge for us.
Yeah.
Let's go do it. And I'm happy with that.
Yeah. And also, you know, we've been talking, but that sort of personalised video experience is more of a niche.
No one else in the world is doing it.
Okay. So that's how you're going to hit...
This is our thing. This is our thing.
Is that something... So that was a request from a client of...
Yeah.
And then you've kind of just gone, hang on a minute.
Nobody's doing that. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you talk about... I know we spoke about other things to do with that. Can you speak about what you've got going on at the moment? Or is that totally under, you know...
Yeah, a little bit. It depends on what you want to know.
I want about, you know, discussions with the big boys.
Yeah, sure. So there's a really big charter broker company called Burgess, and that's not sensitive information. They're really well known in the world. I'm pretty sure that their portfolio is in the billions. They have over 100 yachts on their portfolio. We kind of went in with the mentality that if you start off in the lower league, smaller yachts, smaller yacht brands, you kind of get branded to that yourself. And although that's great and we'd appreciate that work and we don't put that down in any way, our dream and our goal is to be on the big super yachts with the big names like Burgess. So myself and my team have been working extremely hard for the past 6 months to get any sort of conversation started with these guys. They're extremely hard to get in touch with. They have 12 offices around the world, places like Fort Lauderdale, Dubai, London, Monaco, all of the rich capitals. And we eventually, through Holly as well, having a connection there, managed to start a conversation. So that is who's actually granted us our first, I guess, hired project abroad, where it's just been straight inquiry to project, rather than having to go out and ask for things and see what we can get into. And they're sending us to Turkey for a charter package where we do interior and exterior photos, drone footage, promotional video of the entire boat, and what else? We get all of the yacht toys out, like the jet skis and stuff, and set that up.
If you ever need like a
can I come along?
Yeah,
yeah, me and Cole will come along.
I'll flip it. I'll do whatever you want for the shot, man.
Gonna carry my bags.
I'm strong.
But yeah,
we'll be the models with abs.
Yeah.
Well, you've got abs. I've got one. So you're starting a connection with a real serious brand.
This is like probably the biggest move for our business yet.
Okay.
And we need to get it right. It's a lot of pressure. It brings back that level of anxiety. Are we good enough? We can't mess this up. You know, there's just so many worries and thoughts that go through your head. But at the end of the day, you've just got to take it on the chin and say, why not me? Let's go do this. Let's go do a good job. Deliver on our promises. And then there should be no reason why we don't get used again. So that's how we're looking at it.
What's your big dream, big goal? What's the vision?
The vision and the big dream, I guess, is to be one of the most established yacht media companies in the world, and to not have to constantly look and chase work. You know, I want the work to come to us, because, and I'm sure a lot of business owners, especially when they're starting out, know of this, but the most physically and mentally draining, exhausting part of business is like lead generation and like marketing yourself and putting yourself out there for work and trying to find who's got like the need for my services. And when that comes to you organically, it's just the best feeling in the world. Like, can we have a photo video shoot on the yacht? Yes, you can. Yeah. No problem.
What does that mean in terms of offices? Where are they located? How many employees have you got? Like, what? I'm talking nitty gritty visions. Like,
okay, yeah.
What are we aiming for?
Sure. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I've not really thought that far, because what I've just said is what I'm focused on right now. But if I had to say, you know, based on what you just said, what our goals would be, it would be, you know, maybe an office 2 or 3 times the size we've got now, with in-house editors, a media team of 4 or 5 to go out and film.
Based in the UK?
Based anywhere in the world. Okay. Because at the end of the day, our clients are willing to fly people to the destination of the shoot. So it is flexible for people, but currently all of our team members are UK based. You know, just scale it up by 2 or 3 times to what it is now, and maybe have people on payroll rather than freelanced. Okay. Which would be nice.
Is this more of like a lifestyle business for you than like a huge company which could generate huge sums of money?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to be a millionaire, and that's not really the goal for me. I guess the goal for me is to be able to live comfortably and give people opportunities to work in an industry in a world where they get to experience travel, freedom, creativity, and all the things that I value. Because in my role, in my job, in my life, I don't ever like being pinned to like one thing, one location, sitting in the same office day in, day out, same 4 walls. Being able to go to Italy for 3 days, or Palma, Mallorca, or Miami, or wherever, gives you that breakaway to come home stronger, rejuvenated, ready to tackle whatever. Yeah. And that's just how I feel and think. And I like to give people with the same ambitions like the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Bro, you're definitely going to be a millionaire.
Yeah. Why do you say you don't want to be a millionaire?
I'm not driven by
material.
Well, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, everyone likes a nice car or wants a nice house, but for me personally, it's like I grew up in a small house with 3 bedrooms, like where my sisters shared a room. Yeah. I was lucky enough to have my own room. My mum had a room. We didn't have like a dad in the house. Yeah. You know, we did a lot of things with our grandparents. My mum was like working part-time, single parent, struggled with bills. We never went without because she worked bloody hard. Yeah. But like, those are all things that have, I guess, set a feeling within me where I want to be able to provide for my family in the way that we're comfortable in the way we live. Yeah. You know, my kids have their own bedroom. Mm-hmm. I don't struggle to pay the bills. Yeah. I can actually help my mum out in her older years, like with having a house and pay the bills and stuff, so she doesn't have to worry anymore because she did all the hard work when I was younger. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, those are my real ambitions for in terms of earning money.
I'm just saying, like, statistically, on like a mathematical point of view, from your trajectory that you're on now, like, there's no way that you're not going to be like, is it? No, 100%. You know, you can't not be unless you like
Unless I screw it all up.
Unless you like
Unless you give
fall out with your girlfriend,
away,
fall out with your girlfriend, start snorting coke off a hooker's ass, like, gamble it all away, like 100%.
Not sure about that.
100%, man, you will be.
What, doing those things?
No, a millionaire.
We'll never know. Well, I mean, we will know one day, but I mean, we don't know.
I think it's actually quite cool because a lot of like the millionaire thing is glorified, and it's a lot of focus is put on that status.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I think that's valuable because I'm kind of in that way. Like it's one of my main goals. But you kind of got to know. I think there's something really fresh about someone just saying, "I don't really care if I'm a millionaire or not." It's more about what I'm doing.
I don't think like, and this isn't against anyone that does work in this sort of role, but me as a person, I couldn't go and work, and I did do this when I was younger. I couldn't go and work at Sainsbury's every day because I see things through social media or adverts or posters or whatever about what's out there in the world, and my personality is I just got to go out there and see it and do it. And like, it's okay. Like, some people like to live in the same town all their life, work the same job, do what they need to do to earn money, and in their free time they're happy and they do what they enjoy. But what I do what I do in my spare time and what I enjoy is the travel and stuff. And this job allows me to do that, and so that's why I'm grateful. And I'm actually kind of living my best life right now because you know, my bills are paid right now, and I am traveling, and I'm building something that I think this is one of the most important things for me, is that I'm building something for myself.
It's yours.
And it's mine. And nobody can take that away from me and say, you were given that. And that might have been one of the conflicting factors of working in my granddad's business, was I knew that it wasn't handed to me on a plate.
But people would assume.
I knew that it wasn't handed to me on a plate. I knew that I had to work for it. I knew that I was in a really hard situation where he'd got this brain disease, lost his ability to talk, walk, all these things, and I was trying to run this business that I had no idea about from 19 years old and did it for 4 years. And other people might have been looking in and gone, oh, well, he got handed that by his granddad. But I also wasn't earning any money, so there's not really any benefit to me doing all these things and having all this responsibility. And so I moved away from that and thought, I need to do something which I can be proud of. And I was proud of that, but I wasn't proud of how it might have looked as well. And that's also a big thing in business, is overcoming the fear of like caring about what other people think. Like, looking inwards, you know, is someone judging you for what you're doing? Like, don't care about what anyone else thinks. As long as you know in your heart of hearts you're doing what you love, you're not doing anything wrong, and you know, you're sort of pursuing your ambitions, then go
I know
for it.
Joey struggles with that quite a bit. Like,
what?
they're like caring what people think.
Oh yeah.
Whereas I'm a bit more naturally like, I don't give a fuck. Like, fuck you kind of thing. I'm a bit more like that, but I know Joey, it's one of those
I'm
things.
the same as you. I massively had that. I was thinking like, oh well, yeah, like what if
it's
they
just
think
like
I got
the
handed it on a
persona
plate?
you've got to show to people, you're this, you're that. But I'm getting better over time. Really.
One thing that like makes me like, I'm like, nobody knows what they're doing. Like, nobody actually knows like what they're doing or what's coming. It's kind of there's a wall that's put up, a facade, which is, you know, they can stack whatever they want on it to make themselves appear a certain way.
But
nobody actually inside, everybody's the same. They're just like, you know, what the fuck am I doing?
Well, I mean, I still get that feeling now. Like, although I am proud of what I've produced and what my business and brand is, I have this constant fear of like what people will think of me when they first meet me and how seriously they'll take the business. Because let's call out the elephant in the room. I do not look 24. Right? And 24 is a young age as it is to, I guess, have your own business and be doing the things I'm doing, which I'm obviously grateful for. But when someone looks at you and thinks you're like 15, like, how seriously?
We've got to grow a beard.
Cal still gets
honestly,
still gets ID to happy hour.
I do, honestly, right?
I do as well.
So you know, I mean, like, walking up to a super yacht company and saying, by the way, I'm going to do all the marketing content for this £100 million boat. And they look at you and go, has you finished school yet? Like, you know, that's where like that fear comes from. And being able to overcome that and like actually go, again, you know what, why not me? yeah, I look young. Hopefully, it carries through.
Yeah.
Until the old.
It's going to be a positive.
Well,
Yeah,
it's gonna go one of two ways, isn't it? I'm either gonna look young until I'm really old, or when I hit a certain age, it's just gonna switch, and I'm gonna look really old all of a sudden, and then people are gonna be like, "What happened to that guy?" So
that guy was 22 2 years ago. Now he's
like 50. All of a sudden,
literally. So yeah.
No, it's I think we're coming up to like an hour and 16 minutes. I don't know if there's anything you'd sort of want to talk about. You know, anything like advice you might have to people who are starting a business. And it's not a conventional business. You know.
Yeah.
Some
I guess
sort of industry.
like all I would say is do what makes you happy. Don't live your life for anyone else.
How do you know what that is?
How do you know what is?
How do you know what makes you happy?
Well, I feel like
to put it better, what's the purpose of life? Like, what do you think?
Oh God,
no,
What's
deep question.
Yeah, that's...
I feel like, well, okay, in my personal opinion, and people have different views on this. You're put on this earth with one life. If you live it locked away in a small room, doing Excel spreadsheets, and you don't go out and see what's out there in this massive world, and you're not happy with sitting in this room all day every day doing Excel sheets, you're not living your life, and you're not appreciating the life you've been given. There's something like 1 in 4 trillion like chance that you're born as a human, and as humans we're lucky that we are able to do these things where we create something to do for a living, right? And
rather
that we
than
have
just fighting a lion or something.
Or like and that we have all of these things that we can like do to enjoy life. Like if you want to buy a stand-up paddleboard and go down to the beach every day, you can. If you're passionate about movies and you want to go and watch a film at the cinema every day, you can. Like whatever it is.
Basically, you're not a sheep that just eats grass.
You're lucky to be able to do whatever you want. And that sounds ridiculous because people are going to say, well, you can't do whatever you want. Like it's going to cost this much. It's going to cost that much. But if I'd had that mentality when I started my business, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Yeah, there's always a way.
There's always a way that someone else is doing it.
Yeah.
So you can do it.
And as well, I think a lot of people, I'm guilty of it as well. They put emphasis on the resources that person has. Maybe their mum and dad are rich, or maybe they've had like a contact here and there, and like. But that stuff you can create. That you can, you can get in touch with people. You shouldn't let that stop you. Should you?
No.
It's like one of those. But I think the purpose of life is literally just creation and evolution.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean like in the physical. It could be mentally.
Yeah.
It could be spiritually. I actually think that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's like.
Are you religious?
I am not religious in the way that I believe there is a God, but I am open to spirituality. Yes,
no, we're so fucking similar. So
yeah, and like manifesting.
Yeah.
It was only at the point of sort of saying out loud, or even in my head, or writing down notes, positive things that aligned with my vision, that it started to happen.
Do you believe in like the law of attraction?
Absolutely and massively, yes. If you're constantly negative, if you're saying I'm not good enough, I can't do this, why, these are all things that are going to put a negative spin on the thing that you want. And if you want it enough,
you'll get it.
You should be positive. You should say I will, I can, all these positive things, and gradually your actions need to align with your mentality, and you will not fail.
100%. I think there's like, I don't believe in God as such, like a figure in the sky. I believe there's a higher power.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's a person. I think it's like rules of the universe.
There's more to this world, to our universe, to this life than just us as like matter and human beings on a planet. Like, there's science behind it, of course, but there's something bigger out there that influences everything. So
I think it's just about manipulating energy.
Yeah.
I seriously think it is. Like, when you get somebody walks into a room, you don't even have to see their facial
just
expression.
know
You can
there's-
feel it. You can
yeah.
get the hairs
Yeah,
on your
the
back.
energy,
You know, it
yeah.
just stands
The
up.
aura,
Yeah.
just-
You know, that is, there's something there that
Yeah.
we can't see. You know, maybe other animals can see. You know, you've got bats who use sonar. There's so many different levels to the energy fields that we might be tapping into,
Yeah.
and like this 3D world, like might not actually be what it seems.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's super. I think I'm super scared of it, but actually really excited because
Yeah.
just through like the 2 years of COVID, I became really like spiritual in the fact that this is not it. This is not the end.
Yeah.
I almost think this is a test. It's
Yeah,
kind of,
I see what you mean.
and it's not a test for God, or it's a
Test
test
yourself.
of evolution. Like the purpose of man, I think, is we've always been evolving.
Yeah.
Like we've progressed, we
Yeah.
progressed,
Yeah.
and you know, depending on which way we're going, even like with AI and stuff now,
Yeah.
we're probably not going the right way. But I believe it's what you
It's
do
a
in your
phase of,
personal,
yeah.
what you do in your personal, you know, is a test for maybe what comes next. you
Yeah,
know?
sure.
It's
100%.
it's weird. Like I don't know, and I've never been to church. I'm not a Christian, nothing
Yeah.
like that.
I'll
yeah.
bring you to church.
Yeah, I don't know how it sit with me because I don't think I think it's commercialized.
Yeah.
I think the church and stuff they've got the concepts of this, you know, energy things within it,
Mm.
but then it's like the first businesses really.
Yeah.
They are like the first big, you know, Apples back in the day. They would, you know, they own all the land. Like,
Yeah,
all the
pretty
best
much.
real estate in the world is owned by a church.
Yeah.
There's a church on there.
Yeah, like you know, it's commercialized. So I
Yeah.
think, you know, yeah, it's a weird offshoot.
Well, no, but we'll never know, and it is something that blows my mind. That, like, okay, I don't know if you've ever had this on your podcast. Has anyone ever asked you guys a question?
No.
Oh, can we change it up? Can I
Yeah,
ask you a
man.
question?
Yeah,
Great.
100%.
Oh,
Oh,
flipping
now
it,
you're
changing
putting
the
me on the
dynamic.
spot.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
what's the
See
question?
how you like it. Okay, so I was going to go down the route of aliens, but we won't go there. No, I was just going to say, what is it that drives you to do this podcast? What do you gain from it? What is, like, in your heart of hearts, what is it that makes you want to do this?
Who goes first?
I don't really know. How did we even start the podcast? Was it me that started?
Yeah, Joey came up with the idea, or he sort of said, "Look, we should do something."
Yeah.
Um,
What made you want to, though?
I think just our partnership, just me and Connor, just
I was talking about doing like a YouTube channel for
Mhm.
my property stuff and
Yeah.
trying to document that.
yeah.
And then we came into a discussion of, you know, a podcast. Maybe we should do a YouTube channel
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And I thought actually, so I'll answer that question first. So what made me do it was a selfish reason.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Con.
No, not in terms of in terms of the
Using
guests,
me.
in terms of the guests and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
In one respect, well, there's many dimensions to it. Hopefully, I'd be able to learn to speak to people a lot better. It would improve my skills as, you know, in a social environment, but also networking. I thought I could
Yes.
connect with different people, you know, my age, which would then, this is how I thought about it, translate into, you know, young successful people earning money. Potentially, where do successful people put their money? Property. So it would come into partnerships down the line, not, you know, using people's money,
Sure.
but I thought it might evolve
Yeah.
into that,
Yeah.
you know, and that's kind of where I was coming from.
But
Yeah.
it's already, from what have observed from you guys, developed into something much more than that.
100%.
Where, you know, like, we've met, like,
Yeah.
and we've been to
100%.
the gym a few times together,
Yeah.
and I've seen you in your boxers. Like, and for people, like, when that's out of context,
That sounds very
like,
strange.
ice baths, okay?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, you know, and these are all cool things. They're all positive things. It's health, it's wellness, it's connections, it's friendship,
Yeah.
it's, like, things beyond financial gain.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think you
So
guys
what
have
I
smashed
was
it.
thinking it is not kind of what it is,
Yeah.
but it's so much more.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoy doing it. Like,
Yeah.
I look forward to doing it.
I just enjoy talking to people
Yeah.
and just finding out what they do. And Connor kind of just hit it on the nail. Like,
Yeah.
I'm on the same path as Connor. So,
Yeah.
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 I feel like maybe there's room for an episode where you guys get interviewed. Find more about, like, you with your properties, find more about you
Yeah.
with journey, like with the army, with
yeah.
PTing or
Yeah.
whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you guys need to get in the chair next.
The way we're in like we're on a river that's not like cut through the ground yet.
Yeah.
You know, whatever way it goes, like I'm happy. Like my canoe will go, you know, whatever way it wants to. And you know, whether it fails or it doesn't, I'm just real happy if it stays like with 20 people watching it.
Yeah,
and
man.
we do that for 500, 600, 700 episodes, man.
And we just look back on what old and reminisce on things.
And also, it fills time.
Yeah, 100%, and it's positive, right?
Yeah.
Like people these days, you see a lot. Like people are just on their phones, looking down. They're sat in a group with each other, but they're not talking. They're not interacting. They're swiping through apps mindlessly, like not even thinking about what they're doing. It's just something to do. We've just sat down and had an hour and a quarter, an hour and a half conversation with like no trouble. Learn more about each other.
Yeah. That's actually another reason why I wanted to do it as well, because I listen to podcasts quite a lot, and I watch a lot of YouTube podcasts, and it's kind of like I was sat there consuming content, and I was thinking, why don't I
produce something,
create? Why is it's the same time, but you're on the other end, and it just it's productive.
Yeah, there you go. There's a first for your podcast.
Yeah, no, 100%. Do you want to say to people where they can find you if they want to look more into it?
Yeah, sure. At Orcamedia UK on Instagram, and at Edit All UK on Instagram as well.
Okay. Wicked, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, bro.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, guys.
Take care, guys.